That was the countdown. I don't know if you guys missed the countdown, but now we're live with one of the episodes and interviews I've been most excited about. Honestly, the little chatter we've had before this interview has been awesome. So without further ado, if you don't know who these two guys are, I need you to remove yourself from the rock that you've been sleeping under. But this is Sharran Srivatsaa. And Sharran, I know we're pretty good friends because I can spell your last name without having to look it up now, which is big for me because I can't spell it well. And I've got the notorious Rob of the Notorious Rob blog, Rob Hahn, in the building. Rob, I'm super excited about this because you write some of the best real estate articles that I've seen. I'm not a
thank you very much.
Maybe there are better ones out there, but I haven't seen them.
Thank you.
But I've never seen you on a video interview, so I'm excited.
And I was like thinking about this. Like, you guys are making me feel a little bad because I see behind Sharran there's like this beautiful whiteboard with flow charts and then you've got this beautiful whiteboard, and I've got goals. Like, damn, I need to get a backdrop or something.
Yeah,
get a whiteboard up in here.
I just scribble stuff on my whiteboard before the show just to make it look cool.
So thank you. I appreciate that.
So
what's up, Sharran?
What's going on? Second appearance on the show. I don't think I've had any two-timers.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You should be a regular.
It's just like Saturday Night Live. I'm two-timer now. But here's the best part. I think when Tim, you and Rob and I were talking about the show, I don't think a lot of people know. I know a lot of people in our industry know Rob. They know Rob from his writing. I'll tell you a funny story. When Rob puts something out, right, I will text that article to his wife and be like, how does he write this stuff? Like, this is insane. And you know what she tells me? She's like, I've given up. It's everything that comes out. It's like word porn. Everything that comes out of it is so good. It's so irritating. But what people don't know, Tim, is this. Very few people know this. And Rob is my friend and mentor. I love Rob because of so many things, but very few people know the genius that Rob is, and the advice and the suggestions and the impact that he's had with the leaders of the real estate industry over the last 5 years. There are decisions that have been made in today's real estate industry that nobody knows about that Rob actually helped make happen. I mean, I'm talking billions of dollars of sales, market cap, agents, brokers. Many people don't know that. And all of that comes from a very deep understanding of the industry that we all, we live on the surface, but Rob can move the rock from below. So I'm just super excited that I get to hang out with him, but to give him to your listeners as well.
Rob, you got a lot to live up to after that.
Sad. God damn, after that. Checks on this way, all right?
I like it.
All right, so I don't know if I can live up to that billing, but what do y'all want to talk about?
Well, first things first, I don't sell anything on my little podcast show here, but I'm going to try to sell something here. So Kingston Lane, we got a referral code up there. If you haven't checked out Kingston Lane, check it out. It is the best deal right now for lead generation in real estate. And if you click my link and sign up, Sharran's going to give me like $20 or something, which is great because then I can go buy a new microphone or something because my wife told me I can't spend any more money on this show until it starts making me some money. So if you like the show, you like Sharran, sign up on the link. But Rob, tons of interesting issues in the industry today that we could dive into. Let's start with brokerage, right? You've talked a lot about a lot of different brokerages, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Tell me, like, and without saying any letters or saying any names, I mean, we can, I don't really care. But how is brokerage changing? Because obviously it's not the way it used to be with, the office and everything else. Like, how is the role of the brokerage changing? And what's your perspective on that?
Oh, man. That's like, that question, it's that's like a 2-week, seminar, right? All right. So first of all, in order to say how's the role of the brokerage changing, right? We have to then, first of all, kind of talk about what is the brokerage, right? There's what's the status quo, and then to see how's it changing. So in terms of status quo, I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people, but what the fuck? Right. Because I've actually said this in, like presentations. So here's the thing about brokerage, right? if you think about what a contemporary, traditional, typical brokerage does, they don't do lead gen, right? They don't. I mean, like, that's why they don't. I mean, they say that the training, but I mean, Tom Ferry doesn't have a multi-million-dollar mansion if brokers were doing that extremely well, right? So they don't do that. They don't manage their agents, not really, because agents are only 1099 independent contractors. So tell you to go pound sand if you're like, well, you need to do things this way. It's like, see ya, I'm out of here, right? So I'm like, okay, so what do? Right? You don't have a relationship with consumers. You don't really manage your agents. You don't. So what is it that you do? And it turns out what a broker, traditional like status quo today does is they go recruit agents, right? They retain agents, and then they take a piece of the action, right? Okay, well, there's only one other business in North America that I can think of that has that exact business model, and it's pimps, right? They don't, so because if people, right, they don't do any marketing for their girl. Like, the hoes got to go do it all themselves, and then the pimp takes the cut. So.
All right.
So
all right.
That's kind of the default today kind of brokerage.
Yeah.
So now we can talk about how it's changing, right? Because that shit ain't gonna work, right? It's not gonna be sustainable. We're seeing that in things like margins and lack of loyalty and people jumping around and agent teams and all of these things, right?
Yeah.
So how is it changing? There's really two kind of branches that are coming off. And it's interesting is I'm actually writing the October report. So I do a premium report called the Red Dot.
Wait, can I pause for just a second?
Yeah.
Can you write a blog titled Brokers, the Pimps of Real Estate?
I've actually done that in like public presentations, and thankfully the brokers in the room laughed. They didn't laugh. I was going to get in lots of trouble. But, look, we got to have a little bit of sense of humor about this, right? Because if we got to have a sense of humor about this, because otherwise you're going to just cry, right? And like Renee Voda just said in the comments, pimping ain't easy, but sure is fun. No, it's not even fun in brokerage, right? And the other thing that I have to mention this before we get off. One of the most interesting things about it is pimps at least keep 100%, right? Like, this is not really well known, but there's a documentary that the Hughes brothers did, right? I think it's called American Pimp, where he talks about, they don't give, like, they keep 100%. Meanwhile, in our world, they keep 0%. It's like they keep 5%. Like 95-5 splits are not uncommon, right?
Yeah.
So
do you think there's an avenue there, right, to get into the pimp game and offer better splits? Maybe a cloud-based pimp.
So the split that I want to mention, on the one hand, we have what I'm going to call like the next generation of Max, right? And we're talking about the 100% guys. We're talking about the Home Smarts, the Realty One groups, Fathom Realty, these, and I call them the next generation, like agent-centric brokers. I mean, these guys have taken kind of the traditional and taken it to the next level. So that's the next big wave that's coming.
Yeah.
But the other branch, which is really what I find the most interesting, is the employee model. Like Redfin is not a pimp, right? Redfin is an actual like employer broker, right? And actually, they're not even a brokerage because the way we define brokerage. I've said that Redfin's actually an agent team, right?
Yeah.
It's actually like a giant agent team with a website. So, and then, Open Door just bought Open Listings, which I think is an employee shop, and a number of companies are starting to go down that path. So that, you talk about change to brokerage, like that's the split, right? On the one hand, you're going to have kind of the traditional model, the agent-centric model, taken to the ultimate. And that's, these, they don't have to be 100%. Like EXP is not 100%, right? But they share a lot of similar type of things. And they're really kind of in, I guess we'll call it the pimping game now, after this show. But they're doing it better, right? They're doing it better than the other guys. They're doing it more efficiently. Their margins are higher. Their operations are better in certain ways. And then you've got the other guys. The other path really is A lot more difficult, but it's the employee path.
Yeah, Rob, the question, though, that I think is interesting is, so you mentioned EXP. I'm going to be super biased towards EXP. I'm here. I love it, the whole deal, but I don't want to go down that path. The big guys that have been around for years, right? How do they adapt? How do they pivot when this is going on? Do you think there's still a large enough market share for that model, or do you think they need to make a drastic change to be able to hang around?
I think they have to make a drastic change to hang around. Right? I mean, look, but at the same time, real estate is an emotional relationship-based thing, Again, just like pimps, you ain't gonna lose a girl, right? If it's so there's some of that as well. But at the same time, like the value, it's just I don't know how it works out. I mean, I really don't.
Sharran, I'm gonna pitch
what do you think? You're in that world.
Pitch it to you a little bit here. So you grew Tellus, sold it, right? Made an exit. You're doing what you're doing now. What I think is interesting is that type of, I'm going to call it a pipe dream, right? Of building a team and building this small brokerage into something bigger and then selling it. Do you think that's a viable business strategy in, say, like a 2025 environment?
It's a good question, right? So I'll answer that in a couple of different ways. So let me do like a do the Rob Hahn, like let's talk about the state of how we got here. How we got here is super important. So in the United States, the licensing body says, hey, you can go fog a mirror, we'll give you a license, and then go find a place to hang your license, and then you're ready to sell real estate. If you mess up in some way, we have E&O insurance. Like that's the model. Okay, so let's be very clear. That's the model. Now, what happened was most brokerages, like me, like 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even like 15 years ago, pre-Zillow, but post-MLS, pre-Zillow, all these brokers were saying, hey, I generally have somewhere between 50-50 splits and 70-30 splits. And I, as the brokerage, as the company, I'm going to develop my agents. I'm going to give them the people, the culture, the support system and the tools to go do a better job for the consumer. That was the model. So that's when the broker would say, hey, let me allow Jimmy, the agent, to develop, to grow. And then I will get at the end result of that is something gets, as Jimmy develops, he delivers a better client experience. That's how the broker was set up. Now, we don't have to name names on how that model changed, but let me tell you, at some point, a couple of companies decided, hey, instead of playing this value game to the agents, since they're these 1099 independent contractors, since many of them are coming up and saying they're innovative anyway, let's just give them their entire commission. Let's just go to the 100% model. So what happens is now when you go from the 50-50 to the 100, everybody believes that they deserve the 100, even though they don't have the capabilities to serve the consumer well. Now what happens with that is I get the 100%, whatever the full commission is. Now the broker is like, hey, I gave you the 100%. I can't give you any more. Therefore, I'm going to dramatically reduce the capabilities that I offer you being a part of this firm. And all I'm going to offer you is me. I'm going to offer you Sharran and culture. And culture may or may not be what you like. And if you don't like it, if someone else offers you a better deal, you're going to leave. But the problem is that everybody wants the 100. And then they don't want to part with the 100 to actually make a better client experience. And now I'm not saying,
right? Come on, man.
Well, first of all,
hold on, one second. Now, the reason I'm saying that is that was a deep generalization, right?
Okay.
The average agent right now is struggling because they're not able to serve the consumer well, and the economics don't allow the broker to support them. To me, that's the problem, right? And so when we were doing so talk about a business model from building a brokerage, growing it, and maybe selling a company. To me, it's not a traditional brokerage issue anymore. It is a deep business model issue. The business model is, what do I do? Like, how am I gonna be a profitable pimp in this current world, but still add value? So some brokers are saying I provide culture. Some brokers now are saying I provide leads. Some brokers are saying I provide downline incentives for recruiting. Some brokers, whatever they may say, we need a business model. But the problem with the business model is that you need a bigger, like if you're a baby shark, you need a bigger shark with the same model to acquire you. There needs to be business model compatibility in acquisitions. When you don't have business model compatibility in acquisitions, you will break, right? And so the only reason a company like, so when we built TELUS, we didn't just build TELUS and say we're going to build this brokerage. We built TELUS with acquirers in mind. We had 3 people that were going to acquire us. We built it to that model. And we knew that at any given time, one of those 3 would buy us. And in fact, Douglas Elliman was not even in the running. It just so happened there was a good model match for them. But I'm going to reverse the question, which is, yes, there can be an opportunity for an agent team, a brokerage, whatever, to build a business and then grow it and sell it. But you have to have the end goal in mind as who the acquirer can be. And the acquirer is not going to buy you unless you have a model match with the baby shark.
What I'm asking,
I need to argue with Sharran. I'm at Sharran for a little bit here. All right. So one of the things you said was something along the lines of, well, the 100% guys, because they're giving away all the dough, they can't provide, this consumer experience, the value, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, let's say take a 50-50 shot, right? 70-30. Like, what are they doing that improves the consumer experience and all? So in other words, like I said, man, I interviewed a number of 100% owners and operators. They provide full service. This is the piece that's missing with all this. They provide pretty much everything that a 70-30, 60-40, quote, traditional broker is going to provide. So, when you talk about, well, if the broker has more money, they can do more for consumer experience. I'm like, what? What are they, who do you point to say, well, those guys, they're really doing an amazing job of consumer experience with this array of tools and training or whatever they're offering, and they're taking 30%. I'm like, yo, HomeSmart offers a shit ton of stuff that's just as EXP. There are a lot of brokers out there in this day and age. And I'm going to argue the reason is because of you. Here's what I mean. Yeah. Think about Kingston Lane, okay? Think about Kingston Lane, the company. Sonny loves it. I love the idea. What do you guys do? You provide software and technology that allows agents to do lead gen, right?
Yep.
Is there a broker out there that has a lead gen system that's better than Kingston Lane?
No.
And look, that's what you're getting at, Rob, right? Brokers can't keep up with these great tech companies. No, so let's take that role from them. And let's have the great tech companies and these other innovators do that. And then what you're left is what should the broker be doing? And what the broker should be doing rarely is worth 30% of your commission. And that is the issue.
That's a huge part of the issue. And a lot of so here's where I do agree with Sharran 100%. It's the business model thing is really important, right? If that fit doesn't exist, it's never going to happen, right? So if it weren't open door, right? I mean, who would have bought this? Cold Bank is not going to go buy them. It's just too difficult. They don't have that set up. EXP, so there's all of that. But I think the fundamental issue with brokerage, the fundamental issue to me is this. Okay. In every other industry that I can think of, literally every other industry I can think of, a company has an incentive to have great employees. By the way, it looks like we just dropped Sharran. So
yeah, I don't know. He disappeared on me.
So I'm gonna fill the air while he's trying to get.
That's what you're here for, man.
All right. So in every other industry, a company makes more money from their better employees.
Yeah.
Right. If their employees are more productive, the company will make more money. In real estate, you make less money when the agent is more productive. So the incentive is jacked up. Mm-hmm. So honestly, in an ideal one where you have tons of agents who all do 4 deals a year. That's the ideal brokerage from the traditional standpoint, because they're probably on 50-50, 60-40 splits. They only do 4 deals a year, right? Yep. So if all of your agents did 4, that's ideal. And I'm like, that's crazy, right? That's crazy.
So
one second. All right. So I love that. I love this is a platform from Rob and I to argue with each other. So great.
Yeah.
So here's another. So what I should have articulated better was, I'm not saying anything that hey, the broker can do more if they had more money and can have a better client experience. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that even though over the years, agents are making more money without any change in what they do. Right? Agents are doing the same thing, and because of broker business models, agents are just making more because they're like, hey, I'm making 50, someone's offering me 60 for doing the same thing, someone's at 70, whatever it may be. What I am suggesting is that even if the broker offers more, it is hard for an agent to accept that offering. I'll give you an example. We have agents, for example, that I've seen an agent that leaves a brand called Brand A, that has gone to a tech-centric brand that has, $1 billion valuation. Brand B has not changed anything in what they do. Nothing, right? But now Brand B says, because of our services, Sharran, the agent, is doing better, which is incorrect. So I'm doing the same thing in both places. So all I am suggesting is that the agent's going to do what the agent's going to do, even if the broker provides more different whatever. It's complete. I don't think the agent's at a place where they are willing and able to welcome what the agent's going to do. I'll give you a simple example. A big part of what we were able to do at TELUS was that, and this is no TELUS pitch, it doesn't exist anymore, but I was on 248 listing appointments. All I'm suggesting is that I am better than 99.9% of people in the living room, not because I'm better. It's because I've been on too many. I've been on a ton of them, and I'm like 10 scripts deep on everything. Now, if I can tell an agent, hey, that means you're better. Yeah, well, but that was I actually had people saying, I'll come to TELUS because Sharran will go on these appointments with me, which I did, which I committed to doing. But what was that's a completely unscalable advantage, right? Like, I can't do that.
Bingo.
Bingo. Hold on. I'm going to go for some just straight up clickbait because you're saying it without saying it, but you're talking about EXP. So let's do it. And when people see KW versus EXP, it literally just starts a comment circus.
It's the new jihad. It's the new holy war of real estate.
It's the new holy war. So, Sharran, you mentioned that agent moves from wherever to EXP, and their things don't change, but production changes. EXP is changing the incentive structure, right? And that's all these different models are doing, is changing the incentive structure. And the reason why so many people are moving over here is because they are like, look, I've brought 20 people on to this brokerage and I've done X, Y, and Z. And if I had done it over here, I would make more money, right? And so they're just looking at how I run my business. If I run my business the same way as I do over here, I'll make more money. And I think most performing, I think the training and all that other stuff is more for newer agents that are trying to pick a brokerage. But established agents are just looking for where's the best place to build my business. And that is what brokers have to pitch to agents, is that we're a better place to build your business.
Yeah, so I agree, but there's two. You got to look at two completely different components, though. The structural advantage for an agent and a team is completely different from a capabilities advantage for an agent and a team. The structural advantage is, yes, I can take my team, I can go anywhere, I can make more money on the downline, I can get paid a signing bonus. That structural advantage for me to run my business is conceptually irrelevant to my capabilities, because I'm not changing how I'm servicing my clients in any way at all. I'm just saying, hey, I've been here at Sharran's brokerage. I'm going to EXP, KW, Compass, whatever. I'm going there. I, as a agent team, I'm structurally better served to do it, but it's no different in my client experience. I do the same exact thing. I have the same CRM. I still run Boomtown. I still do everything the same exact way. I just swapped Sharran brokerage for EXP, and that's okay because I have a structural advantage. All I'm saying is that we need to be very clear on what a structural advantage is and what a capabilities advantage is, because at the end of the day, if you can't change the value that you add to the consumer, we will lose. Like,
hey, you're getting into the topic number 3. All right, let's hold the consumer experience for the back half. But Rob, you've talked.
I need to address one thing though here.
Yeah.
Okay. Because Tim, obviously you're like EXP is changing shit, and Sharran's talking about agent. I look, but here's the thing. Take EXP, right? And I know Glenn, I know Debbie, I know a lot. I love those guys. But think about what I said. The fundamental problem of brokerage is that you make less money from your most productive, best people. EXP doesn't solve that problem. It does not solve that problem. In fact, EXP, like with their cap and all of that, it's like the better they do, the worse you do. Somehow,
not necessarily from the brokerage.
Yeah, from the brokerage. The better the agent does, the worse the brokerage.
Yeah, but the more production they do, right? The more production they do, the more agents come. The more agents come, the more revenue the brokerage gets.
How? So
because
okay, so let me put it this way. Let's say that an agent team at EXP ends up doing 5 million transactions, all the transactions in America. Okay. As a result, 1 million other agents come to EXP. Okay.
Yeah.
EXP has a cap. So once you hit, I think it's like 20,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
16. You no longer pay us.
Message me.
Okay. So you have 1 million agents. One does all the transactions. How is EXP making any money?
But that's not how it plays out in the real world.
But what I'm saying is the math,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. So fine, multiply. But the issue is EXP doesn't solve this. Nobody solves this problem in traditional brokerage. The better the agent, the worse you do.
Yeah, but how do you incentivize the better agents to come on and help grow your brokerage so then you get more revenue? See, that's the difference. Like you're talking about one agent doing all the transactions and that agent capping and not paying any money, but that agent is attracting other agents. It's showing those agents how to be more productive, hence making more money for the brokerage. The reason why, but hold on, the reason why the big team leaders and all this stuff are so frustrated is because they've been doing the training, they've been mentoring, they've been doing all this stuff for the brokerage that ends up making the money, right? And so that's where, as a team leader, as a contributor, as a producer,
I get it.
You come on, you know what I mean?
I get it. No, and look, obviously, you know, in the real world, in blah blah blah. Like I said, you know, there are 100% guys that are a lot less expensive than EXP that are making money. You know, they're very profitable, and I was surprised. Just $100. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter who we're talking about, until we move over to the W-2 world. The fact of the matter is, the brokerage makes less money the better the agent. Okay, so you can talk about the better agent's going to attract more agents. So it's like, great. So we have this awesome agents. We're going to get a bunch of crappy agents. We're going to pay us a higher split, and we're going to make money on them. How that improves consumer experience is beyond me. Number one, but number two. But number two, you want those crappy agents to stay crappy if you're a broker, so that you'll make money on them. I mean, it's the craziest incentive structure I've ever seen.
An agent doing $80,000 a year in commission, I don't think is a crappy agent. That's better than most agents.
Okay, 80,000. Oh, so do you cap at that point?
So that's what I'm saying. You cap at 80,000. So
you cap. Okay. My goal. So here's the thing. As from a brokerage standpoint, I don't want that agent doing any more deals.
Yeah, but if I could get every agent in my brokerage to produce $80,000 a year,
80,000. That was my point. Right. Yeah. So my point is, if I'm EXP, I want every agent in my entire company to do 80,000 in GCI and then stop. Think about that. Think about the incentive structure. That's
Rob, I agree with what you're talking about here on the incentive structures, because as a guy that did not grew up around different businesses, real estate not being one of them, that was ultimately one of the things that boggled my mind, was the way this structure is set. It doesn't make any sense, the whole commission split and capping and all that jazz. And then some guy that does really well gets a better deal and pays less. Like I get it. It doesn't make sense. But it plays out, right, in real life. We've seen it, that it plays out where people produce, they do well, they cap. The brokerage still does well on agents that produce. They just do, right? That's
I need to see some numbers to back that up.
So, hey,
I mean, that's how all brokerages have grown.
Let me give you a feet on the ground example of you don't have to take numbers out of this. Just take numbers. I'll tell you something over the last, when we did. So we went, when I started we went from 35 agents to 600 agents. For every 10 agents we interviewed, we made 2 offers. We recruited hundreds of agents on a yearly basis, all doing on average 10 million in gross sales, right? 10 million in volume on average. So do you know the number one source of recruiting for us was not calling on agents, was not getting agent referrals. We would just wait for agents to cap, and then we would talk to them, because every agent that capped would tell us, and I'm giving you straight up stories. Hey, I am at so-and-so shop, whatever the shop. I have already capped. I've paid my cap fee. I'm 100% for the rest of the year. They don't care about me anymore. That some version of that story, they will tell me all the time. And they'll say, hey, it's insane. And those are like the easiest conversations for a traditional kind of split shop like we were. But that was very interesting. I would have never guessed that. I would have guessed, oh my gosh, I capped. I'm at 100%. I don't want to talk to anybody. That's what I would have thought. Right? Because that would have been me. But that was the time where we got most of our recruiting comments, which is very weird to me.
Okay, how'd that happen?
I see that. I see that too. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so I want to know how did you get them?
To your point, Rob, of let's say you have 10 agents at the brokerage, all did 80,000. Now on their next deal on the 81,000, the broker's like, hey, Tim's hogging resources now. He's already capped. I'm not making more.
Got it.
It's a weird psychology, and the agent feels like they're not being.
They don't love me anymore. Yeah.
Whatever, and I'm not saying that's the truth. I'm just saying what people have told me, because I've not been in that situation. But it's super easy for me. I'm like, hey, oh my gosh, thank you for allowing me. I don't even have to have a recruiting conversation. I just have to talk to you and buy you coffee. Like, I don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Roll.
So I just want to point this out.
I do have this clickbait title up here, and so at some point we should address it.
What's the clickbait title?
Just KW versus EXP.
Oh, okay, fine. So I guess let's get into the jihad as well. But I do want to make this point. What Sharran just said is only possible because Telus Properties had Sharran.
Yeah.
Just think about that the value of your entire brokerage operation depends upon the personality, right? The skills, right? The convincing, compelling. I mean, it's all personality, right? It's all like, because here, you could take exactly what Sharran says word for word and give it to some other person, and they wouldn't recruit a single motherfucking soul because they're not Sharran.
Yeah.
So the part of what keeps traditional brokers, I think, still in business in this day and age is because some of these men and women who are in this management broker recruiting type roles are, quite frankly, amazing salespeople.
1,000%.
They build these relationships, they get the trust, they make the agent feel wanted. That's incredibly, that is what it is. But I go back to that is literally pimping. That's literally how they work. I'm not even kidding. Like, go watch the documentaries. It's about the verbal skills, about the ability to compel and convince and all. That's literally what it is, right? So I'm saying from a business consulting standpoint, because that's what I do for a living, right? I just look at the structural and the numbers and how things add up. I'm like, look, you can be successful if that's your amazing local, office manager who's just a wonderful person and builds you can be successful and keep this going for a little bit. The thing you cannot overcome is that structural problem where your incentive as a broker is to keep your agents minimally productive. That's the biggest issue with all of this, right? Now, you talk about KW versus EXP. So I want to transition a little bit here because
transition.
Where we are seeing things really happen, right? And this maybe goes to your part 3, which is the whole consumer experience, where we're seeing things really happen and really innovative, really cool, is agent teams, right? Because agent teams have totally different incentive. They're in a 50-50 split typically with their team members. So they want their team members to be absolutely goddamn productive because the team leader and the team's going to take half of all that shit. So there's no cap. There's no what you want into my team. You're going to pay me half. But as a result, I want you to go out and do 100 transactions. I want you to go out and have every one of the clients love you and deliver this amazing experience. Why? Because the team, we take half. I don't want somebody who's going to do 2 deals on a team. Like, that doesn't make it any. So think about that. And like, to me, that's why agent teams have taken over, right? Yeah. So KWVXP versus EXP. Look, I mean, ultimately, it's just going to come down to Structurally, here's the thing. EXP's advantage structurally is that it is a brokerage. It's not a franchise, right? KW's advantage is that it's a franchise, and it's been around longer, and they have people who are quite culturally like into it. Okay, I don't know who's gonna win that fight. I honestly don't. Right?
Well, I mean, the fact we're even talking about it being a fight is kind of interesting in and of itself.
Yeah.
I mean, KW is the largest company out there, but I think it's funny that it keeps coming up the way it does.
Well, this is super interesting. Let's do the KW EXP thing. And I generally I love this stuff only because I think about the big pieces of the world, right? So, I'll give you an example. So, first two things. Number one, if you're not knowing the industry, if you had a room of agents and you went in and you talked to a bunch of agents and you said, "Oh, I know who the Keller Williams agents are," I will tell you positively, culture, right? There's a culture as a part of this, right? And the culture is a big part of the reason people stay at KW, and that is how they've built it. That's what they talk about it. And I'm just saying that's how when you talk to a lot of KW agents in a networking party, that's what you get. I love it here because of this. I love it here because of that. They don't say I love it here because I cap. Generally, I don't hear that often. They generally love it here because of the culture. And they say, hey, and then we're part of this family reunion. Bill's a part of the family. I got good leadership. There's inner circle. It is all about the people wrapping everybody in a cocoon and helping them stay productive. And Rob said it right. They have the ability to get ownership, which is pretty cool that the average person cannot have. So that's KW, right? Now, I want to show you a couple of interesting things. So in the internet marketing world, I'll give you an idea. So let's say there is the Atkins diet, right? The Atkins diet says, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, you'll have six-pack abs. 3 days later, Sharran comes around and says, hey, here's the Rob Hahn diet. You don't have to do all of that. You only have to do these 3 other things. And now you're going to get an 8-pack by doing less, right?
That is definitely not the Rob Hahn diet. That's
but we in the internet marketing world, we call that an improvement offer, right? An improvement offer. So optically, AXP has done a really good job of providing an improvement offer for those that may not need that culture-like stuff, but still have the ability to run their own brokerage, but be powered by AXP, have ownership, but still have the ability to conceptually monetize that ownership. They have the improvement offer structurally and optically speaking done very easily, which is pretty cool, right? So to me, you should always, like, again, this is a structural advantage is what I'm trying to say, because it's not a capabilities advantage. It's a structural advantage.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing, though, right? Okay, now that I've listened to you, Sharran, I'm kind of leaning more towards KW at the moment. Okay, because
you should. They got 180,000 agents.
No, that's not it. I mean, because look at if you look at the growth rate of EXP, you know, they're gonna take over. You know, it's gonna be huge. But that culture thing you just mentioned, right? That is a secret. No, if EXP has that yet. No, they could develop it. They could build it.
Yeah, but I think anybody can develop culture.
No, it's not. Here's the secret about KW that most people do not understand, right? And this is just my theory. I've never talked to anybody at KW, and they might call you or get on Facebook and be like, Rob's absolutely fucking crazy, okay? But what KW is actually done is they've taken the campus Christian movement, right? The entire way it works and brought it into real estate and formed a company. So for some of the readers who know what I'm talking about, like if you ever went to college and got involved with some of the campus crusade, you know, campus ministry things, InterVarsity, Campus Crusade for Christ, you know, these types of things, the way those work is exactly how KW works. It's exactly how it works.
So I'll give Rob, let's use Tim. This is super exciting, right? So you know me, I like to be super tactical, give agents something to take away, right? Let me give agents, your agents that are watching right now, something to take away that they can install in their business right now that can help them build their brand.
Kingston Lane, or should they click the link for Kingston Lane?
No link clicking, nothing. No link. So here's the deal. Rob said something very.
Still click the link though.
Yeah, you should click the link and make sure Tim gets $20, right? So here's how this works. So Rob said something really powerful. So it's not about when companies really start to do well, It is not about building a great company. It's about building a mass movement, right? You almost build a mass movement. There are three components to build a mass movement. I want to give you the three components because you can use the same three components to actually build a geographic farm, actually build a team, and on all of that. So there are three components. Component number one, you need to have an attractive character. An attractive character, right? Gary Keller is the attractive character. Let's just call it what it is in this situation, right? Number one. Number two, you need to have a cause that is grounded in the future. Hey, we have a better way to do this. Join the family and we'll give you a piece of the pie. That is a cause that's grounded in a and the third is a vehicle to actually help achieve that cause. Hey, join a market center, join MAPS coaching, become a part of the escrow company, cap when you hit a certain thing, come to family reunion. They've given you a vehicle. So you need three things. You need an attractive character, you need a cause grounded in the future, and you need a vehicle to help that change. If you have those three things, amazing things happen. Now, the interesting part is this. The same thing happens with crazy things, right? Hitler, attractive character, had a cause, had a vehicle. Crazy things happen. However, but the same thing happened with Christ. Like, like whatever. No, but you have to talk about it because you have to. Did you just do that? Dude, take this for example, right? Take Zillow. Zillow, take the attractive character. Spencer Raskoff is the attractive character. Spencer Raskoff is freaking amazing. Like, I love every minute I get with Spencer Raskoff. And he couldn't pick me out of a lineup, but I think he's the attractive character. They have a cause that says we're going to make the consumer experience better for the consumer that no one else can. And the vehicle is we're going to support agents, we're going to support the platform, etc. It's a really powerful thing. So if you're an agent running a geographic farm right now, you should stop what you're doing. Stop the just listed, just sold market updates. Nobody cares. There is nothing in there. You need an attractive character, which is you. You need a cause, which is we want to change. We want to make sure that the values in this neighborhood are always going up. We want this neighborhood to be safe. You need a cause that is grounded. We want to build the citizens of tomorrow. We need a cause that is greater than yourself. And then the vehicle is, hey, allow me to be your advisor to help with the largest asset that you have. If you have it grounded in those three things, you win because nobody else has that. Because everyone else is saying, hey, look at me. I'm awesome. I did 32 sales. I'm number one when I'm not number one. Nobody cares because attractive character, the cause grounded in the future, and the vehicle for change is where everything gets grounded. And like take Kingston Lane, right? The attractive character are Steve and me, hopefully speaking. The cause is that we want everybody to do everything push button because you're not going to do it otherwise. And the vehicle for change is sign up for a free platform. Like that's how this works.
Yes. I mean, I'll agree largely, Sharran, but I do want to point this out. That cause can't be that self-serving. You know what I mean? Like the cause can't, here's what I mean by that. The cause can't be like, I want everything to be push button, like, no, that might be Kingston Lane's why. But for an agent, like the cause can't be like, I want to help you make more money. I want to keep the value property. The cost for Keller Williams, if you actually look at it, is something like have a better life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it is. Like, and they talk about it constantly, right? It's like, your balance in your life, personal relate, like all the stuff. It's like have a better life. Yeah. So I think the challenge for EXP, so translating it back to that, is I don't know what that cause is. Right. Well, I just don't.
It's funny. I mean, Sharran, when you started to go off on what you were talking about, the three things that you needed, I thought you were going to link it back to EXP, but you linked it back to the KW deal. I mean, it's the same formula, right, that we've had for our growth. It's the same formula, like you're saying, everybody has for their growth. And I think the problem with KW, Jeremy Katz, actually, we're getting some good comments now. Put it in. It's like the cause is great, but is the structure the best vehicle, right, for that cause? And I think that's where we get back to the different brokerages, the different models. I think everybody wants to do what you guys are saying, but what's the best vehicle to do it is the question. So KW's been a great vehicle. I just don't know if that franchise model is a sustainable way to keep being that vehicle as these other platforms and opportunities open up.
Yeah. So hey, I have one last thought on this, and then I'll leave it to Rob. So have you guys watched? Harry Potter?
No, never.
No. My daughter's just getting into it. We literally just started.
I live in America, Sharran. Of course.
So I have young kids. So Harry Potter. There's when the witches and the wizards go to the first day, right? They get the sorting hat. The sorting hat goes over their head, and it's like Gryffindor, right? Like that's totally. But I believe that the models all exist, but we have a lot of different wizards and witches, and you're going to pick the house that is right for you and what you feel like. There is a sorting hat filtering mechanism that happened. I may align with all the 3 values of AXP, 3 values of Keller Williams, 3 values of Compass, 3 values of Coldwell Banker. I may align all day long, but I instantly am going to veer to Gryffindor or Slytherin or whatever. So the model, you can continue to build a model, the vehicle for change to be powerful and the true cause, but you can't be all things to all people is what I'm suggesting. Right.
But I love that analogy, but I'm going to go off of that. All right.
Oh,
so here's the thing. In Harry Potter's world, right, the houses are no different except in culture.
Correct.
Right? In other words, they're the same, right? Except for the different culture. Like Slytherin is evil. In our world, the houses are dramatically different. And there is a house rising today, right now, that is going to absolutely fuck everything up. Right. And I'm talking about like House Open Door, House Zillow.
Okay, I was gonna say you're gonna name something. Yeah.
Right. Because here's what's interesting. And I know maybe this is the transition to your part 3, Tim. Think about all this like big why and all this stuff, right? The culture and the vision. All of it has to do with agents. All of it has to do with the industry. Nobody has articulated that vision for consumers until Open Door came along and said, you know what? This entire real estate process sucks ass. How do we change it? And they have that vision. Mm-hmm. Dudes, I'm telling you, like those guys are going to change shit. It doesn't mean like traditional brokers or EXP or KW or any of these guys go out of business. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Waiting to happen. That is a culture that's waiting to explode. And I think it's just a matter of time. So maybe within 5 to 10 years, we might wake up one day and see that these sort of iBuyer type of brokerages have 30% market share. I mean, it's going to be crazy. But we're going to get to the point.
So I don't know. Like I agree, right? A lot of people, and it's funny. The real estate industry in general, I'm just amazed by how I'm going to speak in broad terms, but how we romanticize our jobs and talk bad about other options that are coming up, right? Like we always talk bad about Redfin agents. We talk bad about Open Door, and we love talking crap about these things that are coming up. And it's like, I don't know if Open Door is the thing because I've seen how they buy, and I don't know how they're going to make money with the way they're buying and selling these houses. But the fact that a major company is coming in and, like you said, trying to change the consumer experience, we need to acknowledge that we're failing in that, and acknowledge that we're failing and figure out what the solution is going to be before somebody else figures out the solution.
Right. And again, I'm not saying Open Door is going to be the company, and you're right, all the structural, like the operation. I'm talking about somebody having this vision, right? This what Sharran's number 2, right? This cause. Yeah. Like no one in real estate until these guys came along and said that my cause is to make shit easier for consumers, right? And like really lived up to it. Like we talk about it, but our version of make shit easier for consumers is hire a great realtor, namely me. Like that's our delivery. Open Door came along and said, maybe because they're not in the industry, they're looking at it and said, this sucks. Our cause is make shit easier. How do we do that? By applying billions of dollars of capital to the problem. So if the real estate industry, right? Those guys never exist. If KW had that kind of vision, instead of saying we're going to spend $1 billion on tech, if 5 years ago they said the process sucks, how do we improve it? You know what? We can do it if we just buy the damn house.
So the problem, though, and you got to tell me if this isn't the problem, but the problem is that, you know, there's this circle that is like Redfin, right? There's this other circle that is Open Door. And then there's this circle over here that is like all of these brokerages and NAR and 700 MLSs, and like our side of the house, the realtor side of the house, is so fragmented that it makes it so much harder to actually come up with the solution. So, I mean, how do you address the fragmentation of the industry on our side of the house? I mean, is there a way to address it?
There's only one way. There's only one way.
Okay.
The one way is there are, so I'm not telling, we don't care about who these fragmented bodies are, but there's these structural, cultural fragmented bodies, 843,000 of them or whatever that exists around the United States. There's only one way. And I was talking to my mentor, and he told me, he's like, hey, you need to go put a fund together and buy everybody out. There is no other way. You need to buy. And I was like, dude, do you know how many zeros that is? And he's like, yeah, I had to take my phone and turn it this way to see how many zeros. That's how many zeros it was on the calculator, right?
Okay, so there.
Do that, you change the landscape of this industry forever, right?
There's
so
one
that's
other
never going to
way.
happen, though, right? We can agree that that's not a realistic solution.
There is one other way, actually.
Let's hear it.
And it's when President Trump picks up his pen and does an executive order telling the
we lost you a little bit there. Bring it back
again.
Yeah. Okay. So but basically, Trump can write an executive order tomorrow, right? Ordering the IRS to stop treating real estate agents as independent contractors. Then we probably get down to 150,000 realtors. And because of that, we don't have 700 MLSs. We end up with 7 because you can't survive, right? I mean, you just can't be in business with only 150,000 realtors. And brokerages just, die by the hundreds because if there are only 150,000 people, I mean, how many brokers could exist? So that is the other way, right? And that probably explains why NAR, has the political lobbying arm that it does and the fund that it does. But you're right. I mean, the only other way other than government action would be some, extraordinarily, wealthy company coming in and just saying, I mean, that's the only other way. Yeah. So
look, I'm not a NAR guy. I mean, everybody's like, get involved. And I'm like, well, I see no value in it. But
right.
So I say that as somebody, everybody always like, if you're going to talk bad about NAR, you shouldn't because you're not participating. Well, so I'm not going to talk bad. I'm just going to ask the question, like, what should NAR do, right? Because they're obviously not doing what we want them to do. They're not doing, I mean, really anything other than coming out with new logos and crappy advertisements. But what should NAR do? Do they have any chance of having any role in this?
Sure.
I only have, if I could make a pledge to NAR, I have only one request that will change in my world. I have one request. If NAR can just say, increase the licensing requirements and the capability standards, we all win instantly.
I disagree.
Let me tell you why.
Okay, yeah, give me the why. Give me the why. Convince me.
The end result at the end of the day is to get to a core group of highly capable advisors to help us sell and manage the transaction of real estate. If that core group needs to have it, like just, Rob, you're an attorney, so sorry, but like there are tight licensing standards, right?
Oh, none of this should be construed as legal advice. Sorry, you didn't get that. That's
but if you increase licensing standards,
okay,
you would drop I'm going to be not conservative. You would drop 2/3 of the agents, and because the volume of agents would go away, our industry structurally will have to change. The MLSs have to change the way they think. Boards have to change the way they think. Consumers will change the way they think. Like, you will get a better experience, right? Dude, I'll tell you this. I did 100 agents, 100 consumer study, 100 people, right? 100. Do you know what 99 of the 100 people said on my 5-question survey? 99 of the 100 people said the same thing. 99. They said, I wish we had a simple way to understand where our transaction was. And I was like, what do you mean? Nobody, 99 of 100 people across the US, I know it's a small sample size, but 99 of 100 people said that they had no idea what was happening during a transaction. The one person that said that they did have an idea, which was very cool, I called them personally and I was like, Tell me why you knew everything about your transaction. Did your agent keep you appraised? What actually happened? You know what she told me? She was like, Sharran, was so amazing. The agent walked in the living room. She had no presentation. She showed me a Trello board of my transaction. And she said, this is every card is a piece of the transaction. And we're going to move it from appointment to keys. And every day I would just log in and I would look at my cards being moved. And then my cards moved to the key. And she showed up at my doorstep with a bottle of champagne and my keys. That's how I knew everything. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is insane. We can't even provide our consumers a single interface, like freaking a chat thread, if for anything else, to tell them where things are. That we are so fragmented in how we can deliver a consumer experience. And that is because we have insane number of agents who are deeply incapable of doing the business.
Hold on.
Wait. I did that. But Sharran, you just literally argued against your own position, right? Because what you started off by saying was, if NAR could raise licensing standards, then we blah blah blah, and then immediately after you're like, yeah, but really all it took was somebody to build this board and communicate better with. I'm like, dude, like how many years of schooling do you need just to be able to communicate better with your client?
There's a word. Hold on.
Nobody can do that. The average agent cannot do that.
But there's two things. One, you're talking about something that I'm passionate about, and I think it's what we need, right? I think it's the consumer experience that we're missing, which is the word clarity, right? Like industries win when they bring clarity to the consumer. I pay more for things when I know that business is going to bring me clarity on the process. We need to bring clarity. That is the word. If we do one thing this year, do that. But the second thing is that I totally disagree with you on is I'm sitting here saying I think NAR's ridiculous. They don't do anything. You're kind of, without saying it, agreeing in your solution is to give NAR more money. Like, why would we give NAR more money?
That's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying,
so look, I'm for raising fees if you can show me that NAR is doing all this stuff to make our lives better, make our business better. Sure, take more of my money. But I don't feel like they should start raising fees and making it more expensive if they're not doing anything.
Oh, brother, if you're looking for someone to defend NAR, man, you came to the wrong place.
No, and I'm not looking for that. I'm just arguing Sharran's deal of raising. If we're going to raise the fees, send the money to like
no.
people. I don't know what.
I'm not saying raise the fees. I'm not saying raise the fees. I don't care. I have no comment on the fees. I'm saying NAR. If today we have baseline standards for licensing, I'm saying increase the licensing. Like I need to be. Dude, just give me the SAPs or something. I need to do a little better.
But Sharran, here's the thing. So let's just play this out. Let's say that NAR goes on lobbies and Congress listens and state legislatures listen and they say, you know what? If you want to be a real estate agent, you have to have a law degree because it's so legal. No, I'm just throwing it out there. Fine. Yeah. Okay. So the licensing standards now, you have to have a law degree. I don't know how many lawyers you know, but I know a bunch. Are they any better at communicating or client care because they have a law degree? I don't think so.
That's my thing. Yeah. I'm with you. I just don't see the education that's already provided as like adding value. Yeah. It goes back to if you were to show me that there was this great program and this great new education thing, and it was actually going to impact the experience, I would be on board. But fees in mandatory education, I don't think make any impact. That's why I don't think we should raise them.
I'm not. Okay. Just to be clear, I have no comment on fees. I think that was there's no comment on fees. I don't care about fees.
I think when you said standard, I think I communicated raising the standard, and everybody always wants to raise fees. I'm just mad about it.
No fee. I don't care about fees. All I'm suggesting is this: you go into any boardroom, any real estate office, the transactions of agents that you're worked with. I guarantee you right now, 7 out of the 10 agents that you've done a transaction with should not have a license.
Ooh. Yes.
Right?
As Tom Ferry would say, yes or yes.
Well, all I'm suggesting is this, and I would say, hey, Dave, listen, I have seen agents change their very financial bloodlines of their family by working hard, do their work ethic and all that. I am the #1 agent advocate because I believe in them. I signed the e-commissions checks. I was with them when their dad passed away. I loaned them money for their car so they can go do showings. I get this, right? I'm in this every single day. I get it. However, most of those people should not have even gotten a license. They're like, oh my God, I got a license in 1992. And I'm like, you don't know how to spell your middle name, right? Like, this is insane. Like, that bothers me significantly.
Well, in my defense, I don't have to spell my middle name often because I don't fill it out much, all right? So sometimes I have to reference.
But we will agree that I'm telling you, why? So take the attorney or the CPA profession, right?
Yeah.
How many CPAs that you know are terrible? I don't know. Like, there's how many attorneys, they may be sleazy.
Hold on, wait, time out.
Yeah. I think you're going down the wrong road here.
Question. CPA that I know a bunch that are really, really terrible at client care. They're fucking great with accounting. Okay? They're great with accounting, but like return a phone call on time. I know a bunch that are just absolutely fucking awful. Lawyers, right. You know, I know a bunch that are like that. You know, there's some really shitty lawyers too, but I'm just saying, like, they might be great in drafting up a document. They might be great in court arguing, but if you ask them to, like, you know, interact with a customer or like with a client, I know a bunch that should never.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to my military experience. All right, I'm gonna go back to my military experience. The thing that I couldn't stand about being in the military was that it was so hard to get rid of somebody. Right, you would have somebody that was not good and should not be getting a paycheck from taxpayers, right? And it was like you had to do all sorts of crazy stuff to get rid of them. What I think would be great is if we had easier ways to thin the herd, right? Because I like the mandatory education, everything else. It's hard. And if we had easy ways to say, hey, look, you've had two bad transactions, you're out.
Yeah.
You know,
it's real easy. It's real easy. It's what I said. If Trump signs an executive order telling the IRS all real estate agents going forward are going to be employees, right? I guarantee we get down to 150,000 to 200,000 real estate agents in the entire country. And the reason is very simple, because brokers now will stop hiring a bunch of people. You could have a license all you want, man. God power to you. The license is easy as fuck to get. Go get your license. Yeah. Oh, you expect me to pay you to hire you? And oh, by the way, now that you're not a 1099, when you fuck up, I'm legally, like, not just licensing law legally, I'm saying financially, legally responsible. That homeowner that got screwed is coming to sue my ass.
Man.
Yeah.
We'll see numbers plummet. I mean, we'll just see it. And you don't need any of this licensing.
And Rob, just to be clear, right? I don't know. When I'm suggesting that, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying increase fees. I'm not saying increase education standards. I have no interest in any of those. Right. I am saying increase licensing standards.
Yeah.
You can't even get in the profession or stay in the profession.
But okay, we can debate that. Like, that's a whole 2-hour conversation right there. I mean,
and Rob, so here's the deal. I'm totally torn right now. Totally torn, because I love being 1099. I love this, you know, independent contractor atmosphere where we're all like just, you know, dogs in a fight and going and building our businesses. But I can't disagree with your opinion on how the W-2 route would change things. I mean, it would. I just don't want to agree, even though it's like my mind is telling me.
Look, I think
my
there's
heart
a
knows
real.
You're right.
Yeah, look, I think you can do this fairly simply if we really wanted to. So if NAR one day woke up and said, you know what, we really need to do something to improve the consumer experience and all of this stuff, right? Look, the two things they could do, and I'm not saying they'll ever do this, but the two things they could do, like I said, is to lobby to make real estate agents W-2, number one. And then number two, completely eliminate the distinction between a broker license and a salesperson's license. Yeah. If everybody has the exact same broker's license, right? Even starting out,
same responsibility,
same everything. Now the whole entrepreneurial thing it's just literally an entrepreneurial thing, right? Like, do I want to go work for this other company? I'm going to get paid, you know, and I'm going to get my health care. I'm going to spend him.
I got kicked off the show.
I don't even know if the stream is going on if Tim's gone. But
what happened?
Or you're like Tim, and you're like, you know, I just love, you know, running my. Dude, go start your own brokerage. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't want to do that either, though.
Well, then I guess life sucks for you, right?
So, but here's the deal.
That's...
But we got to get towards, all right, this is the root of my NAR issue, right? And it's like we've talked about at the beginning of this about incentive structures. And the problem is NAR is incentivized for there to be so many agents so they can collect more fees. Just keep collecting fees. I mean, NAR's spending all this money on advertising to keep the realtor title relevant. So they collect fees from us, and then they take those fees to keep themselves relevant so they can keep collecting fees. Okay. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but they're... Here it is. Here's the simple solution. Ready? NAR going forward, right, goes and tells every MLS that it owns, and they own about 70% of the MLSs. Yeah. And they tell them, you are all going to go to the FMLS model in Atlanta. What is the FMLS model? They charge a percentage of the closing. They don't do monthly fees. So now with that model across the board with every MLS, NAR could be like, you know what? We have 150,000 members. That's okay because they do 95% of the transactions. Yeah. And our fees, via the MLS is the same. You could do it that way. So there's ways to solve this, okay? The issue is, and the issue is very, very straightforward, and it's very simple. There are something like 1,100 different local associations, 700 MLSs. I think there's like 13,000 brokers, right? Yeah. And a number of them, and that's a lot. That's a lot of families eating. And are we saying that we want to upset all of that?
Yes.
Right? And if the answer is yes, then you know what? You should start lobbying your state senator. You should start lobbying your congressman to say, you know what? We think the real estate agent 1099 exemption should be stripped. I mean, that's, to me. So,
well, I mean, come on. Can we hybrid here though? Because I feel like we're churning, man. We're churning some good stuff. But can we hybrid? I don't want to do the W-2 thing. I get what you're saying, but for my emotional purposes, let's take that off the table. Yeah. But I do like the percentage MLS model. And what has to happen to get rid of these local boards and these local MLSs where I'm using technology that looks like it was built in 1992, right? When it's 2018. Like, how do we do that and move towards something like you're saying? Rob, you're supposed to have these answers. That's why I brought you on.
The local boards, the local MLS, like all of that is just heavily political, right? It's just heavily local. Yeah. So I suppose the answer is when the people, the realtors themselves, the real estate brokers and agents say, we're tired of this, we're not having it anymore. I suppose that's kind of when things will start to change. But right now, that's not what's happening. I mean, what you see instead is local brokers, local agents. They just love their local board, right? They love their 300-person board because, when they call that office, the phone gets answered, right? And they can talk to the CEO and, so there's a lot of that too, So I don't know how that changes absent government intervention. And the one thing that NAR does exist to do is to either prevent government intervention that harms realtors or, try to get government to intervene in a way that helps realtors. Now, whether you see that as value or not, I mean, that's, everyone can have an opinion.
Yeah, and the problem is there's just way too many opinions, way too much bureaucracy. Yeah, everybody's going to yap, and then some tech company's going to come in and figure it out.
Right. And so this is the danger. The danger that NAR, the industry, brokers, everybody faces right now is the way that the incentives are set up, the structure, everything else, really tends to have NAR and the MLS and the local boards, it tends to make them conservative. It tends to make them want to protect what they have, like what we all have. And the problem is the market doesn't give a fuck, right? Yeah. The consumers do not care about the MLS rules, the local associations, the number of jobs, lobby. They don't care. So if somebody comes along, like an Open Door, like a Redfin, a Zillow, or somebody that we haven't even heard of, right? Later deploy. If somebody comes along with enough capital, enough technology, and changes consumer behavior, then we're completely fucked, right? Yeah. Then at that point, what we are is we're taxi companies, and Uber is just coming to my market.
But here's the best part, Rob. The best part is in 25 years ago, the abundance of capital, the advancement of technology, and the gravitas and the courage to displace a existing kind of category of business 20 years ago didn't exist. Today, it's in abundance. Like you don't have to, you can go to Sandhill and Silicon Valley and say, hey, I need $4 billion to disrupt an industry, which you can you don't have to make a profit these days to show. And everyone is like, how is somebody going to make money? The how is somebody going to make money is the wrong question to ask in today's marketplace. That doesn't exist. That is not the question. The question is, how does this dramatically transform a consumer experience? Because people are willing to pay for that. It's amazing.
Right. And it goes back to the Bezos thing. It's like, he's constantly trying to disrupt himself so other people don't disrupt him. He took out a patent for warehouses in the sky. Like he is going to be the disruptor of Amazon. And that is what I wish NAR would do. I wish we would do as an industry is start like actually identifying what disruption could be and start creating it ourselves instead of trying to fight it off. Because contrary to popular opinion, people don't necessarily like real estate agents. If you told them they could push a button, go into a house, push another button, make an offer, like they would. Yeah. And so that's what we need to figure out.
So, hey, one more thing. I love so this is more advice, taking advice from the both of you. So I talked to a high up leader in organized real estate, right? Like, let's not name names. And I asked him, one of the blue chip names in the industry, just a really great guy. And he said to me, he's like, Sharran, I said, well, tell me what, if you had a magic wand and you could wave it and have organized real estate add value to the agents, what would it be? And these are words from his mouth, which I think is pretty cool, not dramatically changing the landscape. But he said, hey, over the years, the people who have built and started organized real estate have become more board of directors, advisor-like in their later years. They're older than the average agent today. So he's saying they've lost a little bit of connection, being in the living room, being in the boardroom, being in the appointment. So he goes, Sharran, and he tells me, he's like, I would rather, instead of changing the logo for NAR or building CAR or whatever, he's like, I would rather run a 10 webinar series where you can come on and you can say, here are the 5 ways to dominate your geographic farm. He's like, that value will actually drive more value for NAR members than anything else. And I don't think he's wrong at all.
No, not at all.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, it's just, basically that to me is not something that the average broker or agent, tech people, the business folks should be worried about. Right? I feel like there's enough things for brokers and agents and those folks to worry about, and let NAR and the NAR leadership and those people figure out kind of what they need to do. Like I said, the danger is, it's obvious now, right? The danger is really if consumer behavior changes because these companies with large amounts of capital, right, they're going to change that. Well, if we're not ahead of that change, then none of this shit matters, right? Like none of it matters. And I've written some like papers, and I mean, Sharran's read my red dot on, platforms and all this stuff. So, this thing is actually like, I don't think it's that far away. I think it's within the next 10 years. Yeah. So that's really the thing to think about. For the agent on the street, look, I mean, I don't think, but it does kind of, the one overarching thing that maybe I would say is the disadvantage that the Zillows and all these guys have. The one thing that you have over all those guys is that you have a face, right? You have a physical body and you can go out and meet people and you have a personality. Like if you were to start doing some of the vision things, right? The whole, like the consumer experience, right? Everything else, I feel like it's going to get worked out. The licensing, all this stuff's going to get worked out. Those are like big policy things. But, to me, that's the only thing that I could maybe tell an agent is, look, I know it's a business and you got to, I get all that, right? But fundamentally, if you care for your clients, right, like really care for them, then I think everything else would sort of shake out around you, right? Because that's the one thing that technology doesn't do real. It's like, I know my agent, right? Like I have a relationship with Blaine. Like that's not going away. And I feel like that's maybe the re-stress, right? Maybe the the thing that maybe from a brokerage standpoint, you know, Sharran, is instead of doing all this just training around like lead gen methods and how to get more leads off Facebook and leads, what if it was just how to care for a client, how to really make a client feel great, how to really make a client feel taken care of? Like maybe that's the training needs to happen. I don't know. But that's the fundamental thing we can't get rid of. And that's the one thing I do feel like technology, none of this shit is going to disrupt that. So
I agree. Hey, Tim, I know I'll let you manage time, but before we go,
way over.
I want 4 minutes because I actually wrote something up. I wrote something up for you, which is the 4 unfair advantages of $1 million agent. The 4 unfair advantages of $1 million agent. Because I want agents to take something away that they can put in practice right now. So when you say go, I can go with my 4 because I want to give that to your audience today.
Go.
So in 7 years of learning this business, everybody is completely, and Rob, you'll agree, it is all about how do I become $1 million agent? Regardless of where you are in the US, it is how do I get to my next million? Because that is the holy grail of creating the small business that we have. How do I become this $1 million agent? And I'm going to give the 4 unfair advantages of $1 million agents. And so let me go. Number 1, $1 million agents completely unlock value in the pre-launch period, like before a listing goes live. The aggregators, the services, Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, all of them have no idea when a listing is coming. The 14 to 24 days before a listing launches, only you and you as the listing agent know that there is something coming. And that is a great time to add value to your consumer. May that be a great pre-launch strategy. May that be how to cheat the market. May that be knocking on neighbors' doors. May that be using your face, becoming the attractive character to love and care for your clients more. There is a 14, 21-day pre-launch period where you as the agent can completely transform how that listing comes to market, because the day it comes to market, you are done conceptually until you get offers. Yes, you do showings. Yes, you do mechanical things, but there's a pre-launch advantage. Now, the pre-launch, a lot of people will say, I live in the state of Washington. It doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah, there are like 3 states in the US where you can't do pre-launch marketing. Like, I get it, but you can still, understanding what happens in the pre-launch period is really powerful. The reason you should take listings, you should be obsessed with what you can do in the pre-launch period, because that will give you insane amounts of leverage when the listing goes on market. So that's number 1, the unfair advantage in the pre-launch period. Number 2, nobody except you and the buyer's agent knows when a home goes under contract. The under contract period is extremely powerful for 2 reasons. You as a real estate agent can make your entire commission back for clients on how you negotiate with them in the under contract period. Now, I'm not saying do anything differently. I say in the listing appointment, communicate to them what that invisible power of what you do from contract to close is. Say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, the invisible power of what I do from contract to close is this. This happens in this contingency period. This happens in this. The average request for repairs in this community in Dallas, Texas is $14,000. And you have to go through that process. But when something goes under contract, it is not just your opportunity, but your responsibility to communicate to the surrounding community that you were the agent that put that home under contract, because otherwise the clients have no idea about what you did, because all they see are just listed, just sold. They don't see the status change. The status change is super, super important. And when you put something under contract, like hyper communicate it, because then your clients will really appreciate that. That's number 2. I got 2 more in 2 minutes. Number 3, databases. It is crazy. Everybody's got these leads in the database and they want to accumulate all this stuff, Tim. The crazy part is, like, stop accumulating things in your database and start bucketing them based on the questions that you get asked. So here's what I mean. The person that comes into your database should be a buyer, seller, pockets, coming soons. That's all it should be, right? So when I get an inquiry, I'm like, oh, I have an inquiry for a pocket. Here's my buyer database. I have an inquiry for a buyer. Here's my seller database. Anytime you get a person, put it in the right database, because Jim, here's the pitch in the living room. Mr. and Mrs. Client, I have 1,400 people who are looking to buy an active home right now. Of these 1,400, 32 need to buy in the next 30 days in this community. Like, that's a completely different pitch. But we don't do that. We pay for thousands of leads, but we don't curate the database to tell a story with it, right? So that's number 3, curate your database. Number 4, agents believe for some reason that this is low status, but it is the way to changing the very financial bloodline of your family is dominating open houses. There is no other way. You need to take your office to the street, to the home, and the open house should be put on like it's your kid's birthday party. You can't just show up on a Saturday morning, put up 4 signs because you would be doing you would not be taking care of your son or daughter well. It should be a huge event, and everybody that comes in is going to be like, oh my gosh, look what Tim Macy did. Because Tim, here's the interesting stat. In 6 years of tracking people coming into open houses, 3.7, which is 37%, are pipeline sellers. Are pipeline sellers, meaning they're going to sell in the next 12 months. 3.7 people are walking and saying, I am a seller into your open house, and we don't even get them to sign in. That's freaking insane, right? That's insane. That's insane. So unfair advantage in pre-launch, take care of the contract period, curate your database, and over-index on open houses because that is the fastest way to get your name and brand out in the community. And those are the unfair advantages of $1 million agent.
I love it.
All right, guys.
Good stuff. All right, so it's my show, so I get to end. So, we got another hand in the back. I would say, yeah, definitely take the stuff Sharran and Rob said about what you can do as an agent, right? Like Google is not going to buy, their kid a birthday present on their birthday, right? Like there are things you can do as an agent for your database that Amazon or Open Doors never going to do. On the same hand, I will say, if somebody proposes a vastly better, clearer, cheaper, and faster customer experience, people are not going to care about the birthday card. Like they just don't, right? Like my taxi driver can be the nicest guy in the world. I'm still getting an Uber. So figure out how to solve that problem in the long run. Real quick, once again, click the link. I don't know where it is, but check out Rob's blog. Rob, what's the red dot report you have coming out?
The next one is actually on low cost, what I've been calling the modern agent-centric brokers. So it's the guys we talked about earlier on, the EXPs, the Home Smarts, the Realty Ones.
Yep.
And it's a premium report. Well, they could come and subscribe, but by the end of this month, I will actually have e-commerce done, so people can come in and just buy individual reports as well. But that's the premium paid product. But you know what? Look, I write a bunch of shit on my blog.
So
and,
if you took any value from this interview, go buy that report, because this was just like surface level Rob stuff. He's going to dive deep on that. And then for Sharran, support Sharran. Check out Kingston Lane. It's the best deal in real estate right now. Use my link so I can buy new toys for my show, because I've been cut off on spending new money on my show.
All right, guys. I gotta go.
Thanks, Dan.